On November 24, 1974, fossils of one of the oldest known human ancestors, an Australopithecus afarensis specimen nicknamed Lucy, were discovered in Hadar, Ethiopia. The team that excavated her remains, led by American paleoanthropologist Donald Johanson and French geologist Maurits Stayeb, nicknamed the skeleton Lucy after a Beatles song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which was played at the celebration the day she was found. Lucy, about 3.2 million years old, stood only a meter tall. She had powerful arms and long, curved toes that paleontologists think allow her to climb trees as well as walk upright. In 1974, the fossilized bone of Lucy, a 3.2 million years old hominin, were discovered in Ethiopia. How was this remarkable skeleton disprove a Darwinian theory? And what links her to the Beatles? On 24 November 1974, the US anthropologist Donald Johanson was scrambling through a ravine at Hadar in Afar region of Ethiopia with his research students Tom Gray. The pair were looking for fossilized animal bones in the surrounding silts and ice when Johansen spotted a tiny fragment of arm bone and realized it belonged to a human-like creature. We look up the slope, Johansen later recalled. There incredibly lay a multitude of bone fragments, a nearly complete lower jaw, a thigh bone, ribs, vertebrae, and more. Tom and I yelled, hugged each other, and danced, mad as any Englishman in the midday sun. Johansen and Gray drove back to their camp in jubilation, their Land Rover horn blaring. Beer was cooled in the Awas rivers, and barbecue goat was served to celebrate the discovery, which, by any account, was a sensational one. A total of 47 bones from a single ancient hominin, the term used to define humans and all our extinct bipedal relatives, were ultimately uncovered by Johansen and Gray at the site. The fragments they collected amounted to about 40% of a complete skeleton, and subsequent dating has shown that these remains are around 3.2 million years old. At the time, it was the oldest human-like being that had ever been unearthed by fossil hunters, and she was given the name Lucy. 50 years on, Johansen and Gray's discovery remains one of the most notable breakthroughs ever made in the field of human paleontology. From the pelvis, scientists conclude it belonged to a female, while her short legs suggest she had only been about 4 foot tall. This discovery was followed up with other similar finds, some in Ethiopia and some in Tanzania, and in 1978. Johansen, working with a colleague, Tim White, announced that these bones, including Lucy's, had all come from a single, previously unknown hominin species with the name Australopithecus afarensis, the southern ape from Afar. Johansen and White placed afarensis at the base of tree of ancestry that led to more recent species such as Homo erectus and later the Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. From this perspective, Lucy was the mother of humanity. And although subsequent research and other fossil finds has led to some revisions of Lucy's elevated status, the very fact she walked upright despite her small brain was on its own a discovery of considerable importance, says paleoanthropologist Chris Stringer of the Natural History Museum, London. Human beings have 3 key attributes: our ability to walk upright, our capacity to make tools, and our large brains, says Stringer. But a crucial question is, which of these features arrive first in our evolution? What was the first step that led our ancestors to move down on a road that ultimately led to the appearance on Homo sapiens? In The Descent of Man, Darwin argued that the three human features, bipedalism, tool making, and large brains, evolve in concert, a development in one stimulating the others to evolve further. On that basis, brain enlargement would be part of human evolution from its inception. Then came the discovery of Lucy. Lucy saw that this idea was simply not true, says Stringer. Her skeleton showed our ancestors walk on 2 feet long before their brain got big. This point is backed by Zeresenai Alamsighet, a paleoanthropologist at the University of Chicago. Lucy saw that a big brain wasn't the sine qua non of being a member of human lineage, she says. It is an intriguing observation, one that raises key questions. Why did our ancestors adopt a bipedal gait in the first place? What evolutionary advantage did they acquire in getting up on 2 feet? Many answers have been proposed over the years. Walking on 2 feet, apes would have had arms free to pick fruit from low-lying branches and could also carry foods and babies. Standing upright, they would have appeared larger and more intimidating while reducing the level of the harsh African sunlight beating down on their backs. These are all thought-provoking suggestions, though the most probable reason was more prosaic, argues Alamsighet. When you walk on 2 legs, as opposed to 4, you save energy. It is as simple as that. You use up fewer calories, and remember, our early ancestors were not struggling to lose weight as we do today. They needed to get all the energy they could get and exploit it with maximum efficiency. Walking on 2 feet helped them do that. Humans pay for the transition to an upright gait today, in terms of back pain and other skeletal problems that arise in later life. On the other hand, we have reaped the benefit in terms of the expansion of our brains that followed, eventually in the wake of our adoption of bipedalism. Lucy's discovery placed afarensis at the heart of the story of human evolution. However, since her presence was first revealed in Hadar, many fossils of others, even older hominin species have been found. These include Australopithecus amanensis, which 4 million years ago ambled across terrain that lies in Kenya and Ethiopia today, and Ardipithecus ramidus, which lived around 4.5 million years ago in similar parts of Africa. Crucially, these early ape men also have anatomies that suggest they were bipedal. So, could one of these species, and not afarensis, have been the true originator of the lineage that led to Homo sapiens? Lucy's skin could merely have been a side branch of that family tree, and not a direct link to modern humans. In other words, was Lucy merely a great aunt of humanity, not its mother? Some scientists believe this could be the case, however, Alamsighet has his doubts. These earlier hominins probably walked upright for some of the time, but many were probably living in trees for most of their lives. In contrast, Lucy and her afarensis kin were spending a great deal of time walking upright. They are pivotal in the transformation of our genus into one that became committed to an upright stance. With Lucy, our lineage reached the state where walking upright became commonplace. We became obligate bipedal animals, the defining features of the genus that eventually produced Homo sapiens. Alamsighet's own contribution to this field was his discovery on 10 December 2000 of Selam, the almost complete fossil skull and parts of the skeleton of the child of Australopithecus afarensis. It is sometimes referred to a Dikika child or Lucy's child, though this latter attribution is a misnomer, given that the skull has been dated as being 3.3 million years old, and is therefore more than 100,000 years older than Lucy. We have now found appearances in Tanzania, Chad, Kenya, and Ethiopia, and we know Lucy and her kind must have lived in these parts of Africa for close to 1,000,000 years, adds Alam Sigit. That antiquity and extensive geographical spread convince me that it is the most likely candidate to have given rise to the many species of the Homo genus and ultimately to our own species, Homo sapiens. Lucy's remains are now housed at the National Museum of Ethiopia in Addis Ababa, where Alam Sigit, who was born in Ethiopia, made headlines in 2015 when he was on hand to show Lucy to Barack Obama during the president's state visit. She is the precursor of all humans today, he told Obama. Every single person, even Donald Trump. Other scientists are more cautious about Lucy's exact relation to humans today. The problem is that we have only two areas from which we have good fossils evidence of hominin evolution, in the Rift Valley areas of Kenya, Tanzania, and Ethiopia, and in South Africa, Stringer point out. In the former, there are lakes, rivers, and sediment in which it is relatively easy to find fossils, while in South Africa there are lots of caves where early hominins became fossilized. That gives you a very biased picture of hominin evolution in Africa. We don't know what happened elsewhere in the continent. It is a bit like the drunk man who is searching at night for keys that he has dropped and only look where there is street lighting, because these are the only places he can see. At present, there is a shortage of places to find fossil remains in Africa, and of places where people have actually looked, and that limits the evidence we can gather about how exactly the human lineage evolved millions of years ago. Nevertheless, it is clear that Lucy has been able to play a major part in developing our understanding of our own species, though her naming was rather haphazard. As Johansen admitted in the recollection of the heady days that followed her discoveries in Hadar. Surely such a noble little fossil lady deserved a name, we all thought. And as we sat around one evening listening to Beatles songs, someone said, "Why don't we call her after Lucy? You know, up Lucy in the sky with diamonds." So she became Lucy. However, it might quite easily have been a very different name, as Kathleen Crane has pointed out in Nature. The Beatles song had been recorded 7 years earlier, and if Johansen and his colleague had been more up-to-date in their choice of pop music, had a better availability of records, they would probably have been playing more contemporary tracks. Songs might even have included some of the hits of 1974, such as Any Song by John Denver or Benny and The Jazz by Elton John. Had they been listening to this track, then the world's most famous fossil skeleton might have a different name. The name is perhaps irrelevant. However, the crucial point is that she was a great trailblazer for highlighting early human evolution. Analysis of Lucy's fossil over the past 20 years has suggested that she and others of her species walk upright. But lead study author Dr. Ashley L.A. Wiseman, a research associate at the University of Cambridge in the United Kingdom, wanted to take things a step further and recreate the component of Lucy that didn't fossilize: her muscles. The defining aspect of what makes us human is the ability to walk on two legs, but understanding how and why this evolved has been debated for a long time. With recent advances in computational modeling, it is now possible to investigate these questions. Of course, in the fossil record we are left looking at the bare bones, but muscles animate the body. They allow you to walk, run, jump, and even dance. So, if we want to understand how our ancestors move, we first need to reconstruct their soft tissues. Studies fossils of Australopithecus afarensis can provide insights into the evolution of bipedalism, or walking upright, and when it emerged in early human ancestors, Weizmann's reconstruction of Lucy's muscle could also be used to determine how Lucy moved in the other ways. Weizmann and her colleagues developed a method called polygonal muscle modeling and initially used it to reconstruct the missing soft tissues of extinct reptiles called Archaeurus that lived 247 million years ago. Then Weizmann applied the same method to Lucy for the first time to understand the shape and size of her muscles and how she used them to move, assessing whether it was like the crouched waddle or an upright chimpanzee or the stance of a human. Weizmann used scans of Lucy's fossils and data from humans to build a three-dimensional model of the legs and pelvis muscles of Australopithecus afarensis. After collecting data from MRI and CT scan of muscle and bone structures in modern humans, the researcher digitally created a musculoskeletal model. Then, she used scans of Lucy's fossil to determine how her joints were articulated and moved in life. Weizmann layered in 36 muscles in each leg using the muscle map from the modern human data, combined with muscle scarring, or the discernible traces of muscle connection that are detectable in fossils. Lucy's skeleton differs from human because she had shorter legs and a more plate-like pelvis. Weizmann's model showed that while a modern human's thigh was about 50% muscle mass, with the rest attributed to fat and bones, Lucy's thigh would have been nearly 75% muscle. Overall, Lucy's leg muscles were much larger and took up more space than those of modern humans. Lucy lived 3.2 million years ago on the African savanna. She would need to have walked over uneven ground and explored a mixture of forested environments and open grassland. Larger muscle must typically means greater muscle force, and it is very unsurprising to find that the reconstruction of Lucy's muscle demonstrates that she had greater muscle mass than a human, enabling her to move freely between these different environments. Paleoanthropologists have wondered about Lucy's posture because her skeleton differs from modern humans. Humans have a stable stance with fully strengthened legs, but when chimpanzees stand upright, they can't strengthen their legs. They walk with a crouched posture due to their bent hips and knees, which is why chimps largely walk on all fours. The 3D model shows that the leverage of Lucy's knee extension muscle means that she could stand erect like modern humans. Australopithecus such as Lucy lived in an environment that included both open grassland and dense forest, and had bodies adapted to thrive both on the ground and in trees. Lucy likely walked and moved in a way that we don't see in any living species today. If Lucy was a babe just like we are and walked exclusively on two legs, then she should be able to move in similar ways as we can.